Hello, friends, and welcome to the Bridge for Women Worldwide. I am Fiona Sitkin, um, a host and an author of the talk show. Today, I'm talking about who helped me succeed and become what I am today. This may be important for everybody who wants to become somebody. A professional educator and Fulbright scholar from Ukraine to the US, and now a board member of Fulbright, New Jersey, I consider myself a self-made woman because I've never had the upper hand to help me raise through the ranks in my career. Both my father and mother have been moderately successful professionals, the university-educated chemists. However, our family did not entertain any high-positioned friends, either from the Communist Party or KGB, which was necessary for moving up in the former Soviet Union. So I could only use what I inherited: good genes, deeply seated family values, and the drive for all things new. In my case, it was linguistics and education. And I did use my inheritance for my best advantage. I now tell you why. I have to admit that life at large has given me a lot to build my basis upon. I mean, the people I could take as my role models. I have had two kinds of them. One, unofficial or intangible, and two, official or tangible role models. The intangible role models were my parents, my husband Alex, as well as several friends. And some more tangible role models became my official mentors, the focus of today's talk. First, let me remark that mentors are people who influence and shape not only your career, but also your life in general. People who affect your thinking, your attitudes, your values, as well as some life choices you make. I've had two mentors in my life. They were my scientific advisors during the university years and later in my further career pursuits in linguistics and the research field. The very different men. They had one unique similarity. They both let me be a free bird or do everything I wanted in terms of choosing the topic of my research, which was important for me. But after the research had started, they imposed some strict rules for structure, logic, and quality, guiding me every step of the way, helping with conferences, and most importantly, high-end connections. Let me tell you more about these remarkable personalities, the people who I met by a stroke of luck and managed to have them interested in my ideas. For your information, I lived in Uzhgorod, Ukraine, graduating from high school and the English department of the university, then working as the English teacher in school, and later at the same university English department that I graduated from. My mentors, though, lived in Budapest and Moscow. How come, you may ask? How come? It's not too simple, not too simple. See for yourself. When at the university, Professor Dr. Alexander Ross was the head of the English department, and I asked him to supervise my diploma or thesis after my first advisor relocated. The diploma was about the English-Russian translations of Ernest Hemingway, my favorite writer of all times. Translation processes always fascinated me on many levels. After successful graduation, Professor Ross suggested I continue translation studies in the graduate school, only shifting to a more competitive topic in linguistics. Think about it, he said. And I did. This is how I came to research terminology and translation, which years later developed into the book under the same title, written to substantiate my second doctorate, defended in Moscow. I went a long way to achieve it. Here, we need to keep in mind that my city in Uzhgorod in Transcarpathia, Ukraine, used to be a part of Hungary and Czechoslovakia before the World War II. And after 1944, it became a part of the Soviet Union and later Ukraine. It was behind the Iron Curtain. As a result, many local Transcarpathian people had family across the border, and by hook or by crook, tried to relocate abroad to have a better life, understandingly. Professor Ross also relocated, reuniting with his two sisters, and swimmingly restarted his academic career in Budapest University, continuing to advise me from there. For your information, Budapest is 5 hours drive west from Uzhgorod. His support included for many years and continued for many years, despite all my changing affiliations. Alexander Ross was not the kind of man to abandon the promises of support. As part of his help, he connected me with his close friends in Moscow, the eminent linguists and academics, Dr. Alexander Schweitzer and Dr. Alexander Kunin. They, in turn, recommended me to Professor Dr. Leo Nilubin. Leo was a perfect match in terms of the subject matter I was after. I still remember how I was reading the first proof of my work by Professor Nilubin. He obviously took time to analyze it during his summer vacation. There were many, many sharp critical notes in red at the back of almost every page of the work I submitted. I shed many tears going back and forth, absorbing criticism. And then I started anew, proving and positioning my points in a different way. Resent the work, was invited to meet him in Moscow for a live consultation, a big honor. And the rest is history. The results were 2 doctorate dissertations, a book, a monograph, plus strong personal friendships with my professor and his wife, Vera. But most importantly, it was a lifetime influence of their old school Russian aristocracy's high morale, impeccable principles, and broad worldview. Notably, when after all my scientific achievements, both in the Soviet Union and the European academia, when I said I wanted to emigrate, both of my mentors reacted similarly, supporting me. Professor Ross and his wife, Ita, immediately recommended me getting a Fulbright grant to the US, which was the most prestigious in the world. And Professor Nilubin was the first to write me the best reference. They appreciated what I had achieved in my country, becoming a full professor at a very young age. Then they fully backed me in my pursuits of freedom, of life and career. In fact, they blessed me and launched me. Unforgettable. I cherish that. Later in my American life, the ideas and principles instilled in me by my mentors often came to mind. I was asking myself, what would they do under similar circumstances? Would they approve? Would they support? There were plenty of serious issues because the US is a very different country from Ukraine, and I knew next to nothing about its ways, habits, or traditions. The ingrained cultural mentality sits deep, as you know. Now, what in my mentor's attitudes helped me to modify my own perception of the world and adapt as quickly as possible? Let me tell you, it's their flexibility, critical thinking, openness. Those were the intangible principles I picked up. For example, in many cases, Professor Ross would put do-gooding in relationships first, even with people who badmouthed him and hurt him in the past, showing generosity of his broader mind. Or, for instance, Professor Nelubin, under an overwhelming and totally stifling Soviet Empire propaganda, he shared with me the stories of his diplomat father in London, where he grew up, commenting that he could never comprehend why on earth the people from true Russian aristocracy, like his own father, took sides with the Bolsheviks and accepted their unreasonable so-called proletariat dictatorship. Especially controversial because Russia was a 90% peasant country. Why? Professor Nelubin expressed many such ideas, which helped me to shake off my good girl idealism and shifted it to a more freedom-oriented train of thought, which eventually brought me to emigration. So, who made me? Who formed me after all? Successful or not, I am basically a self-made person. Influences? Yes. All my life, I have been trying to live up to some untold expectations. And whatever happens next, I shall seek to carry the torch of humanity, humor, and high principles instilled in part by my mentors. My point is here, it is important to have mentors, not only for making progress in your life and work. The mentors make you want to grow and aspire higher, even if they are far away or passed away. The memory of them continues to stimulate you. Remember, if I could have excellent mentors, you can too. Never doubt it. Try it. Just try it. Thank you for listening, guys. This story could help you in many ways. Use it to your advantage and focus on your future, okay? Please subscribe to our channel and leave some comments. I am interested to hear how some people influence or help you. I salute you. Bye-bye for now. Stay well.